Thank you, Chairman Fleischman. Thank you, Ranking Member Capter. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I always enjoy hearing your enthusiasm and the results that you all are getting and what can happen when we get out of the way and let people do things as they should be done. But I was especially thrilled to hear you make the comment earlier about gas prices, even though they're where we don't want them today. Could you just repeat that again on where we are today compared to where they were under the previous administration?
We agree. We want gasoline prices back down where they were, but they're just over $4 a gallon today in the middle of solving a 47-year conflict, and they're roughly $1 a gallon cheaper than they were 4 years ago in the middle of the Biden administration with no interruption in flows of global oil and gas.
Well, thank you for that. I was out in California a little while back now, about 2 years ago now, and rented a car, and I was kind of surprised that my only option available was an electric vehicle at the time. And they told me that if you want to get a combustion vehicle, you have to get here in the morning because those are what the customers prefer, and they're gone by the middle of the day. But I was really shocked by how expensive gas is. And I'm from Florida, and I'm not accustomed to California prices. Why is gas so expensive in California?
I looked through a nice analysis done by a group within California, and by their estimate, 55% of the price of gasoline in California is a choice of politicians. They have the biggest gas tax, so that's a slice of it, but that's only 10% or so of it. They have these requirements on a special blend. Only this blend can be made in California. That's tough when you want to build a product at scale and you have only California marketplace for this very expensive blend. It started with the reasonable idea of we're going to lower emissions and pollutions. I've been very proud through my lifetime. I grew up in Denver. Air quality in Denver has just improved massively as we've gone to cleaner burning technologies and engines, cleaner fuels and all that. So there's a reasonable trend there, but California has just gone way past the reasonableness and just made it so ruinous that they drove it to be expensive.
Why are the refineries all leaving? It's down to a couple of refineries. Is that correct? That's driving part of the problem. Right.
It is another part of the 2 refinery closures this year, one that's already happened and one that's been announced and is soon to close. I'm actually very worried about that because if you look at California, our greatest military assets, and thank you for your service to our country, the greatest concentration or number of military bases and military assets of any state in the country is in California. California gets over 60% of its oil imported from overseas, and its #1 supplier was Iraq. Through, guess what? The Arabian Gulf and the Straits of Hormuz.
In the course of this conflict, the state of California is getting the majority of its oil from Iraq, from the Middle East, while we have oil that would be available here if they had different refining restraints.
We are a net oil exporter. They've prevented the building of pipelines. They've made themselves an energy island with the goal to make energy very expensive in California with the belief that would speed this magical energy transition that everyone talks about. The world has spent $10 trillion on wind, solar, and batteries over the last 20 years, and it's less than 3% of total global primary energy. I worked in solar energy. I'm all for new energy technologies, but it has been the greatest malinvestment in human history. California, to think of your state, California had maybe 10%, 15% more expensive electricity than Florida 20 years ago. Today, its electricity prices are more than double the state of Florida, and Florida produces 20% more electricity than California. They've just done everything wrong on energy policy. The Biden administration wanted to take that national. And what was the net result in California? I lived in California for a long time. This very wealthy, everything going for its state has the highest adjusted poverty rate of any state in the country. You get energy policy wrong, you get everything wrong.
Briefly, my colleague from Florida had mentioned that in her perception, your department is slow walking nuclear projects. Is that true? I met with folks from the nuclear industry this morning, and that did not jive with what they were sharing with me.
No, I'm not even sure. I did hear that, and yeah, of course we've built 2 nuclear power plants in this country in the last several decades. We will have at least a dozen under construction during this administration, and in fact, we have 4 or 5 test demo reactors under construction today. So together, we are going to get nuclear energy back rolling again and back advancing. But it takes common sense. It takes pro-energy policies.
Facts are very inconvenient things at times. But thank you, Mr. Secretary and Chairman. I yield back.